Today, I want to give you 3 actionable stories that you can use in your content. Because one of the things that keeps coming up for my clients and people who are reaching out to me online in regards to storytelling is how do you integrate storytelling into long form content? I'm going to give you 3 types of stories. We're going to talk about why they work, what they are, so you can start using them in your content creation to convert your clients. Hey there, I am Michelle Knight. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am the CEO and founder of Brandmerry, where I teach entrepreneurs just like you how to build truly authentic brands with the power of storytelling. Now, I've talked a lot about storytelling over the past few weeks in regards to digital storytelling, your marketing strategies, your brand story, all of those different things. I've got frameworks out the wazoo. But I know when it comes to implementation, a lot of people get hung up. Maybe they share one particular type of story over and over again. And while we know your audience doesn't pay attention to every little thing that you say, although that would be lovely, wouldn't it? We get tired of sharing the same story over and over again. I know I have felt this way as well, which is one of the ways I discovered digital storytelling. I was so tired of sharing just my brand story in a bunch of different ways that I wanted to integrate more of those everyday stories into my content. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, so it's actually quite easy for me to do. But what do you do if you're just getting started? And what do you do if social media isn't your primary focus? You are doing YouTube videos, you are writing blogs, you're creating a Substack, you're sending emails, you're recording podcast episodes, you're a guest on somebody else's podcast. How do you integrate storytelling, which is crucial, into those pieces of content? I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can do that. 3 different types of stories that, yes, work on social media, absolutely, but really also complement whatever type of content you are creating in your longer form content videos or podcasts. Because these tend to be educational how-to types of videos, maybe a behind the scenes of how you do something. They might be interviews where you're interviewing someone or someone is interviewing you and you want to drop some of that amazing storytelling into there to just make it so much better. These could be podcasts where you're sharing about a transformation that you experience or how you help your clients. These are all amazing opportunities for storytelling. So let's talk about 3 simple ways that you can do that. The first type of story that I'm going to share with you is one that I think is overlooked quite a bit, and this is the permission story. This is actually one of the types of stories that I love to share with my audience because my whole goal is to teach entrepreneurs, women especially, how to own their voice, own their authenticity, and then share that with the world. Because I think it's just incredibly powerful when we understand that we have something to say and then we have the courage to say it. And so for me and my business, and I guarantee for you as well, you have one, if not many, different types of permission stories that have happened that you can share with your audience. Essentially, this is the moment that you gave yourself permission to do something different. Now, this could be big, like just your business in general. This could be if you're like a relationship coach, you gave yourself permission to speak up in the relationship. Maybe this is if you are a parenting coach and you talk about your specific moment where parenting shifted for you and you gave yourself permission to do something. You get the idea. But these can also be very micro as well. So let's say I am doing a long form video where I am talking about 3 fundamentals of storytelling online. I would want to preface those 3 lessons with a mindset shift for my ideal customer, where I talk about the moment I gave myself permission to share my story online and the results that followed. It's setting up the credibility and the authority for the type of content that I'm going to be sharing with them, which is very how-to, but it's also pulling at the emotional and empathy aspect, which is such a fundamental piece of storytelling and really does help your content stand out in the long run because we can access information anywhere. I can go to ChatGPT and find out exactly what I need to find out, but I can't get it from someone's perspective based on the different things that have happened to them, those micro nuances and those micro shifts that have happened that are relatable to me and my journey. And that's where the permission story really comes in. As with all storytelling, one of the things we really want to prioritize is allowing your audience to see themselves in the transformation, the process, the benefit, or the outcome, because then it triggers for them to go, this is possible for me. I feel how that person felt. And now I can see clearly that I don't have to feel like this forever. This story plants a seed that change is possible. And business owners are solving a problem. If you don't solve a problem for your ideal customer, then you probably don't have a very profitable business. And so when you are solving a problem for your ideal customer, they are currently in a position that they don't want to be, or they're experiencing something that they don't want to experience, and they're trying to move in another direction. The transformation. We all offer some sort of transformation. This allows them to see that what they want is possible. Because in order for someone to not only invest, but to actually implement what they are investing in, whether it is one-on-one or courses, which is even more essential because most of the time you are not there walking them through the process. You want them to take action. They have to be in the mindset to really believe that it's possible for them in order to take that action. And these types of stories position you as someone who is relatable, which is incredibly important online today. It allows them to think about what is possible for them. And it gets them into the proper mindset when they make the purchase decision to actually do the freaking work. If she can choose that, if she can do that, then I can do that too. Okay, the second type of story that I want to introduce you to that is probably not new to you, but we need to talk a little strategy is the struggle story. A lot of entrepreneurs are focused on the struggle story. The problem with the struggle story that most entrepreneurs have is that they are way too broad. They are trying to just bundle so much into one story. When, as I mentioned before, and I've mentioned in many of my videos leading up to this one, a story, especially a digital story, needs to be a moment in time. This isn't your brand story that we're putting on a full About Me page where people are going there and they're like, I want to read this page. Like they're going there with that intention. Yes, tell a massive story. Go through the chapters, do all of that. But we are talking about content that someone discovers online. They're not looking for you specifically. They are looking to solve their problem and they are stumbling upon your content. And so the best way to communicate a struggle story in your content, whether it's long form or social media, is going to be a micro moment in time. And the best part about this is that you can have so many of these different types of stories then to integrate into your content. Now, I talked about this in the story bank video where I walk you step by step through my process for creating a story bank for your business in just 30 minutes. But when you are creating a long form piece of content, primarily an educational piece of content, you probably already have in your mind what you're going to be teaching in that video. Now you are going to reverse engineer, go look at your story bank, find a story that matches what you're sharing so you can integrate it into the content. This is where the struggle story comes into play. If I'm sharing a story about repurposing and why repurposing is fundamental and how to get started with repurposing content, I'm going to share the story about when I was building my business while working a 9-to-5 with a newborn baby, trying to show up on every platform and not having enough money to hire a team member. I'm going to be highlighting how that felt, what I discovered, what I implemented, and how that changed my business. And then I can lead into talking more about the repurposing aspect, the teaching element. It's getting them to buy in to what you're ultimately going to be teaching them. And again, I keep saying video because I create a lot of YouTube videos, but this could work for email marketing, podcasting, any of that. You can use these different types of struggle stories to set up your content. They also stand alone on platforms like social media. The key here is that your struggle story isn't really about the pain. The pain is the connection piece. In your story, what you're struggling with is probably what your ideal customer is struggling with now. But we don't want to dwell on the pain. You've read those sales pages, you've seen that content, you know how it makes you feel. We are creating more hopeful content. Yes, you feel this way now, but you don't have to feel like that forever. So it's really about the lesson that you learn and not so much the struggle that you were experiencing. The struggle without the lesson feels like a Dear Diary, woe is me, feel bad for me online. And as business owners, when you are selling a product or a service, it's really important that people are invested in the outcome. They're not just giving you a heart. They're just not giving you a follow because you are relatable. They're ready to take that next step. This is the difference online between maybe more of an influencer and someone who runs a business that sells a product or a service. Not that both are business owners, they absolutely are, but the outcomes are very different. What you are asking your audience to do is very different. And so if your audience feels like you are just constantly talking about the struggles that you've gone through and it almost feels a bit like complaining, they're not going to be invested in taking that next step with you. Whereas when you share the lesson, you are educating, you are teaching. And that's why this type of story actually can stand alone on social media or could be an entire podcast on its own where you don't even have to share tips or how to because the lesson in and of itself is a teaching moment. I've already hinted at this third story because I've talked about transformation, quite a bit because, as I have already shared, you are selling the transformation. You are ultimately telling your ideal customer, here's where you are, here's what you're experiencing, here's how you feel, here's where you want to be, here's who you want to be, here's what you want to be experiencing. I'll help you get there. I will sell the transformation. And so this type of story is really powerful for you in your marketing as well. This type of story is all about sharing what is possible. So let's pause for a second. Let's time out and let's think about this. We had your permission story, which is like the beginning, the moment you go, I gave myself permission to do whatever it is. The struggle story is most likely what you experienced during that time or when you first started taking action. And again, there could be a lot of different struggles that you have had. I know I've had a million as an entrepreneur. Again, content related, setting up my first website, figuring out my brand, posting my first thing on Instagram. All of those could be incredible micro stories depending on what my goal is with my products, my services, and my teaching. And then we have the transformation story, which is really showing what is possible for your ideal customer. This is where you get to show the end result. This is where you get to show after you've implemented the things that you have in your own life and your clients have as well, what is possible for them. A lot of the type of content that I love to share around my transformation story is behind the scenes. It speaks for itself. I get slow mornings. I get to spend time with my son. I homeschool my son, which is very important to me. I get to show that I work from home, travel, trips with my family, freedom in my schedule. For you, it might be something different. But the idea is that you are showing what happens when someone makes this change. Specifically, and to take it a step further, when someone implements what you yourself teach. So if you're a relationship coach, then you would want to talk about the outcome that you've experienced or your clients have experienced when working through your process. If you're a parenting coach, you would talk about the parenting relationship, the cohesiveness that you might be feeling with your own children or your clients are experiencing with their own children, what the home feels like now when implementing your specific process. Now, for the transformation story, you can do a kind of before and after. I used to experience this, but now I experience this. That's fantastic. But really, I want to encourage you to simplify it so much. Just showing up and sharing your everyday life, blogging, B-roll video, Instagram stories, or putting this into long form content, setting up when I implemented this, I started experiencing this. And this is what my life is like now. This is what my day feels like. This is how my workflow is. This is my process. You get the idea. You are selling the dream, essentially. And it's all about specificity. It's not, I now have a successful business or I can build my business from anywhere. It's, I get to work from the car during my son's dance classes instead of missing out time with him because I'm working from a cubicle every day. Do you get the idea? It's very specific outcomes. Because that's when you get to pull out the heartstrings. That's where you get to paint a vivid picture. You can see me working in the car. My son's in a dance class. You can see that. You can visualize that. You can see yourself probably doing that as well. And this all plays into emotional branding, which is something I talked about a few weeks ago, specifically how to integrate emotional branding into your marketing. So I will link that video below for you as well. All of these stories can work together. Like you could put all three in one. From the moment you gave yourself permission to showcasing what it was like, the struggles, what you implemented, and where your life is now. But what I am really trying to encourage you to do is share more of these micro stories. Really zoom into a specific moment in how you were feeling, because this is the type of content that truly works. If you try to fit too much into one story, it's going to be too much for your audience. And most likely, you're going to miss out on the crucial elements that actually make storytelling what it is. Showcasing the emotion, painting a picture, hooking your audience, letting them really see themselves in what you are sharing. What I really want you to think about is how these different stories fit into the customer buying journey. Because when you can get someone into your world, you want to lead them through the customer buying journey with your content, with your storytelling. So the permission story might get them to think, maybe I can do this too. The struggle story builds trust because that person starts to think they really get where I'm at. They really get this process and the trust begins to build. And the transformation story makes them truly believe that is possible. that they can see the outcome and they are investing in the work. Most entrepreneurs only use the struggle story and they're trying to fit too much into the struggle story. So now you have three very simple stories that you can use, yes, on social media, but also in your long form content. And I highly recommend that you start to integrate at least one micro story in every piece of content that you create. I have a client right now, she's a member inside of the academy, and we are looking to dial up her conversion rates for her next launch. And our goal is to incorporate storytelling in everything that she does because all of the pieces are there. She's already getting amazing conversion, but I know and she knows that we could be getting more. And the one shift that we can do that hasn't been super active is storytelling. And it is very cool to see business owners who are putting out the content, who are doing the things, getting results, but not quite at the level that they imagined themselves to be. Implementing storytelling and watching that shift. Not a brand new strategy, not a brand new platform, just making sure that they are connecting with their audience and sharing stories, building trust, telling their audience that they understand what they're going through, and showing them what is possible. And then, of course, your own framework, your own methodology, your programs, your offerings, all of those different things are going to be the thing that helps them do that. And that's what they will ultimately pay you for. Like I said, I have a lot of storytelling content for you. So I'm actually going to link an entire playlist below this video if you want to dive into that. You're already here, you might as well watch some more training videos. But I also want to share with you that I have put together a storytelling content super bundle, which includes over 2,900 storytelling prompts that I have strategically put together for you, tried and tested, and I've even divided them into categories. So it's not just a long list of over almost 3,000 prompts. They are organized in terms of hooks, short form videos, social media posts, captions, long form videos, podcast titles. We have podcast topics. We have email templates, prompts that can just help you come up with so many stories that you can be sharing in your content. The best part is that it's available for only $27. So if you want to go ahead and grab the storytelling content super bundle, you can go ahead and click the link in the description to check that out. I will be back with another video soon. Be sure to leave me any storytelling related questions below because I am using the questions that you asked me here and over on Instagram to come up with content for this channel. So if there's something that you've been struggling with when it comes to storytelling or authentic branding, let me know in the comments because I might just answer your question in an upcoming video.